Hello again, VC. Just wanted to hop on again and talk about some more music of the Pacific Northwest that I didn't get to yesterday. I have a small pile of CDs here. But before I get to that, just want to address something. So I'm still figuring out uh, how to acclimate to my new role as a content provider, as a influencer. And yeah, still figuring out which methods work best for me and my comfort, but I'm glad that the reception to my videos has been all positive so far. But just given my tendency to overthink and given the limitations of my ability to make these videos, I don't have any editing software, so I kind of have to do it all in one take, and I don't really like to use notes because I'll end up just reading, so I'm improvising, and that lends a certain authenticity to the videos that I think you're all tuning into, and that's great, but it also means that a lot of what's in my head doesn't end up getting out, so I'll forget to say things about certain records or whatever. That's fine. I'm sure it'll improve with practice. But one thing that I did really want to touch on, I did thank Chris, John Coltrane 68, for his wonderful video bringing viewership to my channel. But what I forgot to mention is that a lot of the people who checked out my video as a result of that, these are channels that I've been watching and admiring for a good while. Like Sequoia Flame comes to mind, Motoric 247, Phil Tatman recently, and Rob at Sound Strange and Fred Big Star 1000 both checked out my channel of their own volition, and really just to have that kind of viewership and acceptance in the community so early on is really humbling, and just really appreciate that. Um, so what we're listening to, I talked about this record yesterday. It's Diminished Men, Vision and Crime, and another thing I forgot to talk about yesterday in regards to Diminished Men and Dave Abramson, their drummer. Um, Not to mention a lot of the other musicians in the areas that I've had the pleasure of meeting a lot of these people. Dave Abramson most extensively. I mean, we haven't hung out or anything or played music together, which, Jesus, that would be so much fun. But, it's at the point where he will come up to me at shows that we're both at and say, hey, what's up? And that's fantastic. He's a really swell guy, and if you can hear, great drummer. So this first disc I have, he plays on. The project is called Mankinson, which is just a portmanteau of parts of all their last names. Dave Abramson, Paul Hoskin, and piano player Matt Norman. Now, I don't know too much about Paul Hoskin, other than that he was sort of a big figure in the Seattle improv scene. He doesn't have too much recorded material, which is primarily why I don't know that much about him. It seems like kind of one of those things where you had to be there to really be aware of it. Um, Much like this CD, really. I mean, like, I don't think this exists on Discogs or anywhere online. I bought this from Dave at a gig. And it's basically, a free jazz improv trio, reminiscent of that sort of raw ESP sort of sound. Piano, clarinet, or contrabass clarinet rather, and drums. Um, yeah, and Paul Hoskin, one other thing about him is that he did organize for many years the Seattle Improvised Music Festival, which I haven't had the pleasure of going to yet. Paul Hoskin passed recently, and I remember the year before this, there was an event paying tribute to him that unfortunately got canceled due to snow, and that was going to feature a huge array of Seattle musicians, including Dave and Harrington Dioniso, who I talked about extensively, and some other players I can't remember. But it's a shame that got canceled, and now because of COVID-19, the whole festival's been canceled this year as well. That was going to be fantastic. I remember Joe McPhee was playing a couple nights, and I really wanted to go to that. But it is what it is. So I talked about Monktail Creative Music Concern yesterday, and didn't really elaborate on the fact that this is sort of like uh, more of like a free jazz collective, really. I mean, this is the full ensemble on this disc, which you heard a bit yesterday. And if you checked out their Bandcamp, you probably came across some of these other discs. But really based around that rhythm section of Mark Ostrowski and John Saman, who also play in Hound Dog Taylor's Hand. Uh, there are several other offshoot projects, and they're all pretty interesting. My favorite of the bunch, because I like skronky guitar jazz, so this one they play with a guitar player by the name of Stephen Paris. I know that name from other discs, but I can't relay what projects he's involved with. But this one is fantastic. I mean, if you like, again, Sonny Chirac, those kinds of players, it's skronky, it's freeform, it's great. These two I'm less familiar with. I haven't listened to them nearly as much, but we got Floss Vitamin A, this one featuring woodwinds and live electronics in addition to the rhythm section. And then we have Deal's Number, which is them playing with a saxophone player by the name of Bill Monto. Another name I know, but can't place which projects he's involved with. But one thing I really like about the Seattle scene really is just how like interconnected it is. Like all of these guys are playing at several projects together, and I think that's really interesting. So one last one with the Monktail rhythm section. It's a project called Figeater. I bought this off of the other musician involved here, Beth Fleenor, who plays clarinet and does vocals, ran through effects primarily. This is really cool. It's sort of much more like punk rock than the other jazz-related discs. Really good. And obviously has this cool sort of DIY packaging. And then another one with even more funky DIY packaging. It's like a brown paper lunch bag with the CDs in. I still need to listen to this, actually, but another one that I bought off Beth Fleenor. I really like the concept here. It's basically all improvised music with all the musicians playing blindfolded, so you don't have the eye contact that you would normally rely on doing improvisation. And then Beth Fleenor, who we've opened for her, the group I'm in, the Censors, here in Bellingham. That was a wonderful show, and her reception to our group was fantastic. That was just a ton of fun. Just needed to mention that. But one other group she's involved with is this group called Troot, who, if you like Henry Cow, Art Bears, all that sort of rock and opposition stuff, Thinking Plague, this is right in there, and this is one of the best recent releases in that style that I can think of. It's a 11-piece band. Tim Root is the leader, hence the name Troot, on piano and keyboards. You have several guitars, saxophone, accordion, clarinets, bass and drums are standard stuff. And Bill Horist, who maybe you know as an experimental guitarist, is also on this. But yeah, these guys played a festival in Seattle called C-Prog. And my friends in the Sheen had the privilege of opening for them. But yeah, it was a magnificent show that I think still their only performance of any of this material. But yeah, they played the whole album, slightly different order. But yeah, it was magnificent, stunning performance. Everyone in the audience was completely moved and blown away by it. It was really quite remarkable. So Bill Horist is an experimental guitarist. There's a lot of prepared guitar effects and extended techniques, much in the vein of somebody like Fred Frith. So this disc I have by him, playing with the Japanese noise musician Null. And just a quick word about him: I'm friends with him on Facebook, and you'd expect a noise musician to be like intense or whatever, but this guy, seriously, non-stop pictures of his puppy with heart emojis and everything. This guy loves his dog, and it's adorable. Yeah, this disc is really cool. And then I have another one with Wally Shoup, who plays on that Spider Trio record I showed yesterday. I really wish that one was online somewhere. It's not, but I'll post the Monktail Bandcamp link again. Definitely check out what is available to check out online. The other thing, quickly, these records are really cheap if you want to buy them on Discogs. And then, yeah, Paul Kikuchi on drums. This one is really cool. More skronky, free improv kind of stuff, as you'd probably expect by this point. And then one last one with Bill Horist is I didn't want to show this originally because William Hooker is not a Seattle musician. Not to exclude him or be an elitist or something. That's just the theme of this video. But seeing as Bill Horist and the other player on here, Eyvind Kang, who I talked about extensively yesterday, I felt like showing it. And this is a really excellent disc of free improvisation with, again, Bill Horist's psychedelic extended techniques on guitar, and Eyvind Kang on violin, and William Hooker, if you don't know him, is a wonderful pioneering free jazz drummer, comparable to people like Milford Graves and Rashid Ali, that sort of crowd. This is well worth checking out if you can find it. And I just mentioned my friends in the Sheen briefly. This is their disc, which came out in 2018. And in my band, Censors, I play with 3 of the members of this group. Unfortunately broke up. Great band, a lot of band drama. I won't get into that, but this is really cool. This one's more in the psychedelic rock, progressive rock kind of vein, with Farfisa organ, dual guitar melodies, and all sorts of really cool, pretty intricate stuff going on. It's a really strong debut record. And then we have this cassette tape, which I think this is their finest statement. There were a couple lineup changes, and it changed their sound, but really, I don't know if any of you use the website Rate Your Music, but I made the page for this, and I gave this thing 5 stars. Like, I'm not lying, just because these guys are my friends. Like, this is legitimately some of the grossest noise rock music ever. And it's obviously an obscure cassette-only release, so it might not enter a lot of people's canons for that, just because of the medium and its newness and obscurity. But it's well worth, even if you don't seek it out, checking it out on Bandcamp. This is great shit. And they have one other release that didn't make it to the physical format due to them dissolving. I didn't want to go down to Portland for this video, just because I don't have too many other artists to talk about from there, but while I was looking through my cassette tapes, by the way, I have these. I have no way of playing them, but you want to support local artists at gigs and get their material. Wait, listen to this. A hat or headscarf and some gloves. Call your family to help you if necessary. I used to not like the spoken word piece, but it's so relevant now. Anyway, this group from Portland is some really fine improv, skronk, free jazz material. Saxophone, guitar, drums line up. another fantastic live group. I got to open for them with my now somewhat defunct noise rock band, I guess. Like, we haven't broken up or anything. We just don't have a drummer or a place to practice or any written material, or and we kind of want to change our name. But anyway, we got to open for them while we were playing, and that was a lot of fun. The other group we shared that bill with, or that I got tape from, is the Social Stomach, who I would kind of compare it to like Death Grips, I guess, but kind of cooler and weirder. The lineup was drums and female vocalist running her voice through effects, and I wouldn't call it hip hop. It's more like if Death Grips were like purely noise rock, but it had that kind of rhythmic, what's the word? Persuasion, I guess, like hip hop. Good stuff. So that's what I have to talk about today. Hope you're all doing well, and thank you for tuning in and welcoming me to the vinyl community. Hope to see more of you all soon. Take care.